what are we going to do if kids do, well, first of all, okay, so maybe Freud's ideas are not as well respected as they once were, but I think Freud has a good point for us to consider. Kids are growing up in single parent homes. They need to have exposures to both mothers and fathers and both males and female role models. Can we do anything? You know, Donna said, I'm not sure how much we could do. What could we possibly do to increase exposure for kids to dads or male role models? Yes?
There's a lot of, like, some high schools or some middle school programs have where you can go and, like, mentor the younger elementary school kids.
Okay.
And usually you're talking with the other teachers, so you can find out kind of who doesn't have a father, who's kind of struggling with it.
Okay.
And assign more the males towards those, or if, because there are, you know, times where the mother's not involved. And
Okay.
you can involve one of your more caring students if you're the middle school teacher to the kid who's struggling without the mother or whatever.
I have to tell you, I think Head Start actually does a really good job with this because they have a program called Male Volunteers. And so what they ask is the kids that have dads that are actually involved, they ask them to come in and read and play with the kids at least once or twice a week. And for some preschool kids, they absolutely eat that up. Now, I've seen a lot of preschool teachers who are uncomfortable with parent volunteers, and that's one thing we're really going to work hard on, is making sure that you know how to use parent volunteers. But one of the very best things you can do early on in your program is to find out a list of dads who would be willing to come in and do block play, who would be willing to come in and read a story. And that's a great way, you know, those kids who don't have that in their lives are hungry. They're eager for that kind of exposure. And so that's a really simple way. And again, Freud is helping us see our problem and see Casey's problem through new eyes. Something we maybe didn't consider before. Maybe we need to have dads come in and do a story. Maybe, you know, once a week for the rest of the school year, the dads need to come in, sit down, and do a story. That could be really an interesting solution. All right, good job, you guys. Okay, so what I want you guys to have written down is Freud, and then psychosexual stages. And the stage that we looked at really was the phallic stage. So just the importance of development of personality based on both male and female role models. Understanding that we need both male and female role models as we decide ourselves our ideas about sex and gender. Very important. Okay. The next group, Erikson. Okay, that's you guys. Okay, come on up and show us your picture.
We did like a boys and girls club, or even an older cousin or a friend of the family who, you know, likes to read, can encourage them and sit down, read with her, and, you know, give her what she needs, you know, because then she has the male role model reading to her and supporting the idea of reading. And then Erikson's theory is kind of the same.
Which based a lot on Freud's theory.
Right,
absolutely.
but it's just a little different, more with your brain and stuff. I'm not too sure on
It's okay.
Erikson's.
I'll help you with that. Okay, so let's look at, in your book, turn to Erikson, and let's show you his chart. That's actually Freud. Oh, yeah. And the other side is Erikson. So let's look across here, right? Across from, so Freud starts out with Phallic, but let's look at what Erikson does. He says, through make-believe play, children gain insight into the person they become. Initiative, a sense of ambition and responsibility develops when parents support their children's sense of purpose. If parents demand too much self-control, children experience excessive guilt. So what do you think Erikson might say to Casey? I liked your idea of, you know, getting her involved and letting her see good role models about reading. But what do you think Erikson, in order to, now look at these stages, they give us a picture of what a good thing that can happen and a bad thing that can happen if you look across. Basic trust versus mistrust, autonomy, that means I'm independent versus I'm ashamed of myself, I'm doubtful of myself. Initiative, I can do it, versus I'm not sure I can do it, I feel guilty that I can't do it, I feel bad about myself. All the way through, and I love this, when he gets to the adulthood, he says that certain adults are generative or stagnant. Would you say that's true? If you think about adults are either contributing to society or they're taken away. Do you guys know some people that are stagnant? You know some people that are generative, that are always making contributions? Hopefully you're those kinds of people, right? Okay, and then at old age, look at that. Integrity versus despair. gosh, I think about that all the time. And what Erickson says is, you know, by the time we get to old age, if we've spent most of our life on the positive side of the spectrum, we're going to end up with lives that have been filled with integrity and value. And if we've spent most of our lives on the negative side of the spectrum, it gets really, really hard to make that change in old age. And you see that in some elderly people. They're just sad. They're full of despair. They recognize they missed their opportunity with their one lifetime, right? So, looking at what Erickson would say to us with Casey in initiative versus guilt, I think absolutely that Erickson would say, and if this would go in the apply section, I don't know if you're 1/3 apply, he would absolutely say that we need to give, Casey needs good role modeling. But I think he would also say, when you look at that initiative versus guilt, she needs opportunities to feel like she's successful. How could you make a child who's not a good reader feel successful? Yes?
I know when, like, because I wasn't a good reader when I was younger, and when I would actually read that little sentence, like, the dog, and I got praise on it, it made me want to be like, okay, I want to read more.
Absolutely.
And even if you have, you know, the big brother or whatever, he can sit there while you're reading, even if she's stumbling and she's getting as and the small 2 to 3 letter words, every time she does it, you know, give her a little bit of accomplishment, or even when you're helping sound the word out, and she, you know, sound it
Absolutely.
out and let her go, and when she does get it, also praise her.
Think about pre-literacy activities. What do we do with kids before they can read books? Where they feel like they're kind of reading books, but they're maybe not reading books?
Picture word match.
Picture, word match. So maybe we get a book like The Hungry Caterpillar, right? Where you can pretty much tell the story by looking at the pictures. And we say, Casey, come over here and tell me the stories. And we ask Casey to start making up stories related to books, and maybe we have her do that to a younger age mate. I love that idea of Casey being helping somebody else. With my older son, and I talked to you guys about this on Monday, who struggled with dyslexia, a big thing that we did is, you know, rather than handing him chapter books in 2nd grade, I would go get a nighttime story out and say, read this to your little brother. Because those books were way more on his reading level. And he felt so good about being able to read to his brother, and his brother didn't mind if he stumbled over the words or if it took him a couple times. And at the end I would say, Elijah, thank you so much. You helped Mommy. You read Ezekiel's bedtime story to him, and you did a nice job. And he enjoyed the books too, because there were a lot of pictures. So that really helped him to feel like a more successful reader and gave him a lot of hope. Yes?
I was just going to say, in the library, they have a program called Class of Reading, where the kids read the dogs. The dogs are supposed to, like at the Macomb Public Library, they have where the children read to the dogs, and the dogs kind of sit there and they listen to the children, so it kind of helps the children to, like, read better, because the dogs are, like, really, you know.
Oh, that's very cute. The dog's definitely not going to know if you make a mistake.
We actually had one of those dogs in my daughter's preschool. She was a huge Newfoundland named Glinda, after the Wizard of Oz. And they do have to go through, you know, all the therapy training and actually get certified to do this. But it's wonderful, because the kids, they will sit there and the dogs don't judge. You know, so if you stutter or stumble, it's okay, because the dog is there and attentive, and these animals are phenomenal.
That's
They're
very
neat.
cool. Very cool. So from Erickson, you want to write down, there are different stages, positive and negative. Once we land on one side of the spectrum, we tend to stay there our whole lives. Do you guys think that that's true? It's difficult as you get older to switch over to that other class. Okay, next thing. Behavior modification. I love this. Did you guys? Okay, it says, feet off the furniture, and she's squirting him with the squirt bottle. It says, after successfully training her cats, Tasha gets to work on her boyfriend. Right. Okay, so let's see. Behavior modification. What would a behavioralist say?
Well, it's
Describe
like,
your picture.
okay, it's about conditioning. So, here is Casey, and she's sitting at the table, and here's her mom. And her mom has a timer, and when the timer goes off, she has like the certain amount of minutes to go get her stuff and come back so that she can start reading.
Okay, so like she's monitoring her and being and checking on her behavior. Another thing is a checklist. One of the things that we would see from a behavioralist is they would talk about rewards or tokens. So what kind of reward system could we maybe make up too?
stars, or she could get a prize for something.
Right.
Or marbles. Marbles work really good.
Marbles.
X amount of marbles and you get a big prize.
There's a lot of different incentive programs for reading. In the summer, especially, Borders does one. My boys have done that before. Most public libraries do them. They offer prizes and check-ins, and you get stamps. And every year, my kids do the summer reading program at St. Clair Shores Library, and I saved that little sheet and I put it in the memory box because we go to the library once a week and they get their little stamp, and it's they love those silly little cheap plastic compasses and stickers, and they're all over your house. But it's exciting to them to have somebody there who's going to say, "Good job, you get a reward," and then they get to maybe get a prize at the end.
I'm working at preschool and we do something similar to that. We have like these little cards that have like sight words on them, like the and that A and stuff like that. And for our 4-year-olds, as they learn to recognize the words, they get to put a sticker next to their name, and once they get like 10 stickers, they get to go in and pick out like, I want to do this activity
From the prize box.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of like these are your options.
Are they motivated by the stickers?
Yeah. Because they want to get up to like, ooh, I want to get that toy down that we don't get to play with as much.
Right, absolutely. So do you guys think this works? Do rewards work for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? You like rewards programs, right? Yeah, they work. They work. So that's something to think about. Just putting a rewards program in place to show Casey that reading is important. All right, good job. So under behavior modification, just write structure and rewards program.
We're supposed to do this part too.
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
This social learning, it's modeling.
And here we have them at the table. The mom is reading, and Casey, she's helping her with any words that she can't get.
Absolutely. Okay, so we see it with social learning, and we're going to see this a little bit more with Vygotsky. So under social learning, put the importance of modeling. We'll talk about that even a little bit more when we do the Vygotsky stuff. All right, good job. Okay, next group. Who did Piaget?
Leader.
Okay, so come show us your picture.
Okay, we have Casey hanging out by himself, but we've given him, he had an unlimited budget. So we gave him a lot of, things he can play with or learn by. We gave him one of those things that you stick on the refrigerator. This is the A says I. A speak and spell. We gave him a computer with Starfall because Piaget's main idea is that kids learn through manipulation and exploration of their environment. So if the theory is that if they have things that they can learn from, they will utilize them. However, he's sitting by himself because Piaget does not believe in necessarily the reward system or reinforcements.
Okay, all right, so very good. So, did you have something else? Okay, so Piaget, we're looking at these different operational stages. We would have primarily been focusing on the pre-operational stage. Piaget basically believed that development happens, and it is discontinuous, that kids move kind of in an organized manner, but all of a sudden they'll leap from one stage to the next. Have you guys ever experienced that with a child? They couldn't do something, and then all of a sudden they can, and it's really amazing. But he basically said when we're born, we're in the sensory motor stage where we are trying to put everything in our mouth, right? We're just like grabbing at things. We've got a lot of focus on motor reflexes. Then we move into this pre-operational stage where we're using symbols to represent experiences. So he would say that it's important to have experiences with letters and numbers and colors and shapes and concrete letters and numbers that you can touch and play with and move around, as opposed to just the word on the page where you can't manipulate the individual letters. All right, good job. So under Piaget, right, pre-operational and manipulation of objects is important. So touching and exploring objects, and like he said, and like you guys mentioned, discovery learning, where you would not tell the kids the answer, as opposed to this other model we just saw with social learning where the mom is actually sitting there telling the answer. Piaget would say it needs to be discovery-based, where kids find out the answer for themselves. Okay. Who had dynamic systems? Oh, this is information processing. That's what this one is. Do you guys have information processing? I put these together into this chart.
I think it's a little confusing.
Okay.
I thought that they meant to do things in precise steps.
Yes,
They wanted.
perfect. Exactly, perfect. Yep, like a computer, right?
Yeah. So we had all written down. like taking them to the library and then working on reading a little bit and then summarizing it, maybe acting it out, and taking turns reading, doing all these different
Activities associated with reading?
Steps.
Good. So if you were doing an intervention based on information dynamic systems or information processing, it's very sequential, it's very logical, it's very mapped, it's very laid out. You can see how you've got a variety of things here. The library, acting it out, helping her with the actual phonemes, the different letters and the sounds that they make. So there's a lot of different processes to it. This theory is actually evolved from the computer age. And the idea that we should teach in a very sequential, logical, well-planned manner. So if you guys want to write that down. Sequential, logical, well-planned manner. You can see that this is very sequential. You've got Casey kind of like following this little flow chart. Almost working like a little computer. And as human beings have tried to teach computers to think, we've had to really break apart the thinking process, right? And break it down into a little bit of steps. Like we started by teaching computers what the number 1 was, what the number 0 was. Then we taught them how to write simple programs. Then we taught them how to go into the internet. Then we taught them how to drive our cars. Yes. We're getting there, right? Right? I told my husband the other day, I was like, what's wrong with this smartphone? I keep telling it to call Mike, and it asks me if I want to call you or if I want to call Mike Boris. And he's like, well, we're both named Mike. I said, yeah, but it's smart. You could tell a human being that 5 times and they would get it. Come on. It needs to know that when I say call Mike, I always mean you. And he was like, give it another generation, it will be there. But truly, with our phones, aren't we getting close? I mean, my phone is amazing. It has, I don't have an iPod or an iPhone, but you know that's, what's it called? The assistant? Sarah? Sarah. Mine is called the Genius button, and you touch it and you can say, find the Lakeshore Family YMCA. And it will say, do you want directions? Yeah, that is my YMCA. And I'll hit find directions, it will take me, and it will take me right. And it will say, do you want me to tell you the directions? I'll say, yes, and I'm here. It's amazing. Say, text Mike. Tell him I need a loaf of bread. I don't eat bread, but. And it will do it. It will send the whole text message, and it will say, your message is complete. That's amazing, right? But still not as amazing as a child or the things that they can do. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Good job, you guys. Okay. Vygotsky's social cultural theory. Who had Vygotsky? You guys had Vygotsky?
Our wonderful pictures.
Just turn off the light. All right, turn this way so they can see you so you're not using them.
So, you know what I mean? I'll say that.
Yeah. Right. Oh, this is the last one and then we'll be done. All right, go ahead.
Right. Vygotsky believed in peer mentorship, adults helping children with problems, basically, is what his belief is.
Yeah.
So our idea was to place Casey with a mentor within the school that's male, who likes to deal with either, because some people have issues with that type of thing, but a male that is really positive and really cool, because she's already positive. She doesn't have any serious issues. She just needs a little more attention.
Okay.
And preferably male attention.
All right.
So the mentoring through male mentorship and peer mentorship with a boy who is in her age group or a little bit older.
Right. Okay. Absolutely.
Like a book club or something.
All right, we are out of time. I apologize. I didn't realize that class is done. We'll start off here on Monday. We're also going to spend Monday in the library, a big chunk of it in the library doing the project. We will meet here first, okay? I will see you guys on Monday. Your homework for this weekend, the quizzes are still not up because of the Blackboard's still not up. So your homework for this weekend is simply, I need you to read up to chapter 3, okay? So if you would read, read 1, 2, and 3. I need you to read 1, 2, and 3 for this weekend. By that I mean at least get through 1 and 2. The quizzes won't be available probably until next Wednesday. So I will put those up and I'll be giving you a revised syllabus so you know when those quizzes are due. Have a